this will help you to hold the activation more. But we have so much work that needs to be accomplished between now and the end of this year that's going to determine whether the Bridge Zone Project Plan A, get the grids back in shape, or Plan B, evac because there's no hope. It's going to determine that. So they're going to activate anybody, your higher selves. If you really want to do this, they will push you as far as you can without harming yourself. They won't let you hurt yourself. You know, so I would say, I'm trying to get I'm still kind of saying, come on, give me a closer time frame answer to that question, because I know you want one and I would like one too. You know, I'm basically getting told that around that framework, around the 1st of 2002, January. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that's why we're just throwing this out at this point. I mean, we usually don't start a lecture off like we did yesterday. Oh, by the way, pole shift, you know what I mean? I came out of saying, oh my God, what did we say? You know, usually we kind of, you know, ease people into hard stuff like that. But we just like threw it out. They're moving fast because it has to be done. It does, yeah. Yes. Okay, level 3s have to be done privately, and they have to be done with 2 ministers. Okay, a male and a female minister, ideally. And we've been doing them together, but it is by appointment. It's not something to try to do a level 3 on a room like they were doing 1 and 2. It would fry the person's transmitting it because so much frequency has to be generated. So we've only done a few level 3s, and they've had us work together, and we each do a part of it. And they prefer it that way, the male female. But if you want, we'll take appointments for them. What are we doing on that? Are we taking appointments for them for, like, next time? Yeah. Ask my advisor here. I don't know. Yeah, we hadn't got that far as scheduling. But basically what I decided, I was thinking, you know, I never get to spend any time or even be available to people when I do come up, because it's always the mad dash for the workshops. If there's enough people that are interested in a combination of ordinations and privates or something that we can afford to come up, I would come up for a few days just for that. You know, we would both come up so we could conduct them. And Michael also does excellent healing work. He is one of the best. He's the only healer I let touch me. He's very, very good. And he was well trained for quite a while by the same ones I'm working with, but we didn't know each other then. Anyway, yes. Yeah, this isn't a Beta Huva that we're doing now. They're different. Okay, this isn't looking at the DNA. This is taking the read right out of the Christos spark. Yeah, I literally have to hail your Christos level and ask it to release if it wants me to have those symbols. And then it's transmitted into my hand. I pull it up and pull it into my pineal, and I get the visual on it. And then I literally draw them out for you. And they're the ones you use to activate progressively. And like there's 1 per month for 9 months. And then there's 3 activation ones that you use every time. And it's not a real hard technique. It's like once you have the symbols, it's pretty easy to run them. So it's fascinating. I mean, it's like, oh, neat. You know, that it was new for me that they were just teaching me how to do this type of private. So I don't know how long I'm going to be doing them. Like the last time, they just had me stop. And there was like a bunch of people. I felt really bad. I wanted to be able to do that, but I couldn't because I was told to stop because it was making me sick, and then I can't do anybody justice anyway. These don't make me sick. 2 for 1? I'm sure, as long as we're both available, yeah. Yes, we can do that. That's a very good idea, actually. If anybody wants both of them, that's an excellent idea. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. What else do I want to cover? I want to get into it. I think it's, what time, can anybody see the clock?
3 o'clock.
It's 3 o'clock, okay. We're going to take a, okay. What time are we taking a break? When?
Around 3.
Around 3? Okay, I could use a ladies' room run.
Well, you can do it now. It's right time.
Okay. You know what? I think what we're going to do, we're going to do about a 8-minute break so people have bathroom run time. Then we're going, like me, then we're going to go into the 12 sacred master songs, which are the 12 tribes' names, which are the way you activate your tribal shield. And we're all going to have some interesting fun trying to pronounce these things together because there's several syllables to them. So we'll get like, well, 8 is a silly number. Make it a 10-minute break. We'll all be back here in 10 minutes, including me, and we'll go from there right into the activation things. What I'll have to do is I'll repeat them to you. More about King Arthur, more about round tables and running them. But before you can run a round table, you need to know the basic things about activating your tribal shield. Because in order to run a round table, which is a group that purposely and consciously activates their DNA to run the codes into the planetary grids to help balance the stargates during a stellar activation cycle, to do that you do have to be able to, know you have a tribal shield and have some idea of what it is, just a basic core template that connects you to the species, okay, brings in more frequency than your own template. You can sum it up that way. But to activate it, it's not one of the long, hard, drawn-out, like some of the energy exercises are. Some of them have to be because of the mathematical coding that's needed to get certain activations done. This one was very interesting. I'm sorry I'm not standing up. I'm starting, my ankles are starting to swell because I'm very tired. But I will stand so people in the back can hear me and see me. Now, okay. I'm going to put this up. And you can see why I might have said before, we're going to have fun trying to sound out these names. These are in the Anahazi language, which was the original first auditory language of the Elohai Elohim. It was used by the Mua race in the third seeding, which was the race that had the highest strand template coding. This language would be the basis for all others. All the other ones would come out of it. So it was like the core language in this time matrix as far as audible sound languages go. It's interesting, when we get tomorrow we're going to get into the 5 Christos languages. And the Christos languages are interesting because they're the sacred languages, but they're combinations of languages that we're familiar with and some that we're not. The Mua language, or the Anahazi language, was the one that was hidden purposely here. All records of it were destroyed because this is the one that had the power to activate the full sequences of fire letter codes in the tribal shield. And if you were a race that was coming in here to try to repress this race, the last thing you wanted them to have was their ticket to freedom, which was the ability to consciously interact with and activate their DNA. Now, we'll get into the other languages, the other 4 Christos languages tomorrow, and show a little bit about how they're combinations of languages that we're familiar with now. I asked it, what would be the closest as far as what's known on the planet, closest to this language? And they said, well, it would be a combination of a couple of things. It would be English, Gaelic, French, Hawaiian, and Polynesian. So imagine that. I can't even imagine taking these alphabets, right, putting them together, what you would do with that. But they said that would be the combinations as far as known languages here. That would be the combination that would be used. So it's interesting. There's other people that do stuff on the sacred languages, but what I find very interesting is they're only identifying one of the known languages here. They're not. The sacred languages, the true Christos languages, are combinations that carry more of the fire letter sequences. Languages are intimately connected to our DNA template. Auditory sound is a vibration, and sound originally, language originally, flowed with the natural coding in our DNA templates. We're going to get into a little bit tomorrow about the Tower of Babel. I call it the Babel-on massacre because we've been babbling on ever since and not making a lot of sense to each other. There's a reason for that. And it had to do with scrambling the fire letter sequences in our DNA templates by scrambling them in the planetary grids. They didn't exactly abduct every one of us and twist our fire letters around, but they knew that our DNA templates were intertwined with the planetary grids. If they could create reversals of fire letters and breaking up the natural fire letter patterns in the planetary grids, it would create mutations in the human DNA template, and that's what's been done. So language, we lost the ability to use the ancient languages at that time. We didn't remember them anymore. We didn't have the sequences anymore. We couldn't even make the sounds anymore. There was no cellular memory left. We're getting this back now because the grids are activated on a 12-code pulse, which means our junk DNA, which are the pieces of our languages that went haywire, can be reassembled. So we can now, again, begin to use languages like the Anahazi Mua language. Now, with the 12 tribes, what was really fascinating, what I find an absolute testimony to the eloquence of the designer of our evolutionary blueprint of Source, is the names of the tribes weren't just names. We'll call you Joe tribe and you Bob tribe or you Janet tribe. No, these had meaning. The names were the specific sound tones, the audible translations of the sequences of fire letters carried by the members of those tribes. Now each of the tribes were formed, there are 12 tribes, but they were formed by 5 races, put in different combinations. Each of the races had certain combinations of fire letter sequences in their DNA template, in their tribal shield. Altogether they formed a whole tribal shield, but each of them alone formed a part of it. So there would be different coding. Certain tribes were keyed to certain stargates. You might have tribe 5 might be composed of Mua, Yu, and Rama races, for instance. It wouldn't be just the Ramas had gate 5 and like the Yu had this. There were combinations that were specifically to get the combinations of frequencies that were characteristic to the planetary shields that operated that stargate. They would get the combinations of the races together that would have those frequencies collectively, and they would form a tribe out of that. The tribe names represented the core tonal template of that particular tribe, which means the audible translation of the fire letter sequences that went with the stargate that that tribe was assigned to as guardian, that tribe's DNA template was encoded to. Now, we all have pieces of all of the tribes in us. Every one of us can, I'm not going to say it's easy, but every one of us can trace our ancestry back to one of the original tribes, one of the original 5 Paladoria races. All right? We right now, at this point, have combinations of all of them in us and a few other things that didn't belong there. But basically, every one of us still has a core affiliation with one of the 5 first races and one of the tribes that those races were a part of. We're going to use some things tomorrow to begin to try to identify that. You don't have to know what tribe you were originally out of to be able to run a round table, to be able to activate your tribal shield. What you do is you activate tribe 13, which is the collective tribe. Now, if you can get to the point where you can find what tribe you were originally, what tribe you were most closely coded to, then there's an advantage of being able to activate a little bit more deeply, more quickly, because you can use certain codes that go with that tribe directly. And tomorrow we're going to get into a chart that's out of what's called the Book of Maps and Keys. It shows us where the Stargate locations are, and it also shows us where the Q sites are. The Q sites are the activation sites that have to activate first before the Stargate can open. Okay? So if you know your tribe, you would direct your frequency to that gate directly. If you don't know and you're using tribe 13, you direct it to the central control point for Earth's planetary shields, which is called the Grual point. That is located, it used to be located in a place called Brua, Atlantis. It was part of the Atlantic continent, and it was called Brua. Right now, it's called a quarter mile off the coast of Siesta Key, Florida. It's still there. The name changed, but the place is still there. Okay? So when we're running, we're not going to do a collective run-around table today. We're going to do that tomorrow, because right now we're just going to try to get the tribal shield activations. Then we're going to go into, for those who want to do it, the Emerald Awakening procedure, for anybody who wants to do it, because tomorrow we're going to do the Amethyst Awakening. These are the Kundalini Awakenings. Now, the people who've had them done, nobody's got zapped, okay? I've not had anybody say, well, gee, maybe I've had a little bit of something. It's not one of those that you get activated and you fall apart 3 days later because there's so much frequency flying through your field. But if we're going to do Amethyst Awakening tomorrow, you can't do Emerald and Amethyst on the same day. You need time in between just for the body to adjust to the frequencies. So we're going to allow a little bit of time toward the end of this, after we do the after we do our first attempt at trying to run these. First, we're going to try to pronounce them the right way, the sound tones. And really, what's do tribe 13? Thank God, you don't have to run all of them, because we'd be here from here till next Tuesday trying to do this. What you need to do is tribe 12 and tribe 1. This will anchor it, and this will hold the tonings of all the rest of them in. So 12 and the 1 will take you into tribe 13. So these will be the only ones we really have to use. And I still have to look at them and sound them out. What this line under here is, this is the sound outline, where I tried to spell it in a way that it would sound, so you could do it phonetically. All right, these were the spelling. Some of them were close, some of them were different than what they look like when they're pronounced. But they would, tell me what it sounded like, so I would be able to get the tonal on it. So it's the bottom line that we'll try to pronounce. Now these things over here are interesting. These little ones off to the side, they're called activation suffixes. You'd have the tribe name, and then there is a master key, a frequency that would open up the DNA template to let the rest in, so then the rest could work. So using the tribe names to begin activation of the tribal shield, what it used to be in the old days is you would have a group assemble, and very often they'd be groups made of various tribes. So each one would begin sounding and singing their tribal tones. And you'd have a group, all of them singing different ones, and you'd have to build a critical mass. Like these guys would really get into it. I mean, you'd have a group of people really belting it out, and this was their way of being, Like you're not going to go and activate your tribal shield and start singing down at the, well, I don't know, we did that down at the Empire State Building. So actually we did that in December. Yeah. But it's not always necessary to use auditory tones. You can do it in your head, but it is more effective if you let the tones come out the fifth chakra and directly out into sound. But of course we're in America in the year 2001, so you want to do it privately probably, or in small groups where people, you don't care if people look at you funny. These tones, if you use them, and the idea is to use them, you have to play with them a little bit, but there's a natural rhythm to them. And at first you're kind of like, you find out, what is that? What is the rhythm to that? What's the syntax there? I don't know how to get it. Play with it. And you'll find the right way for it to be used with your frequency. Okay? Everybody will probably pronounce them a little differently, and that's okay. The basic soundings are the ones underneath. So what I'm going to do is, just because we didn't have time, because this was just given to us overnight, we will have a sheet. This is going to be in the chart pack for those who want to buy the chart pack, but we'll also have a sheet of just this for people who aren't going to buy the chart pack, that you can take it and start using it. And if you want to be creative, you can also, it will accelerate things if you do start playing with the other ones as well, because you'll be filling in frequencies more quickly. I thought it was amazingly simple. That, wow, just a name, just chanted kind of like over and over until you get it like there's a sing-songness to it. If you say something over and over and over again enough times, you'll start to find it talks back to you, and it has a flow of its own that it kind of like gets your brain going in a way where it almost gets a sing-song quality to it. These work that way. They will teach you, if you work with them, just play with sound and how you're used to using sound. And play with them a few times, then sit quiet and listen. And see if you get any, oh, no, that went this way. You might get a, no, it's an up on that note rather than a down. The songs will sing back to you if you play with the tones, where you'll start to get a feel of how you're supposed to sing them. And the singing can be as a monotone mantra. They can be spoken, but there's a quality of breath that happens through singing that's much more full. It's much more of an energy breath when one sings. You're bringing energy up and through the lungs. Where talking is much shorter. The breaths are shorter. They're not as fluid. They're not as, it's kind of like the difference between a straight line and a wave. If you can get them to the point where you can start singing it to yourself, that would help. Now what I'll try to do, this is going to be fun, okay? I'm going to try to say them, and this is about the second time I've looked at them. So I'm right here with you. Yeah. The first one is Araya Zurta Ra. Araya Zurta Ra. Araya Zurta Ra. Araya Zurta Ra. Now let's listen for a minute and see if anybody can pick up the song underneath it, because there is a way to put that musically. And everybody's going to get a different one. I'm just told it's meant to go that way. And that's the one I've got. Does anybody else get a distinct sense of how you would sing that? It may take a while to play with the words before it comes. Yeah, it will sound like one of those like choirs on the first day of practice. The idea is, that's all right. You should have heard us trying to sing the 3 rounds of the Ome Da all together. We still haven't got that far in a group yet. 3 verses of it all together with different words that are not in English. All right. Now, what I'm going to say is I will go through the basic pronunciation of them, the way they're phonetically, so you get an idea of how they sound. Then the best thing to do if you want this to work for you is play with them, like when you get them home, play with them. And, okay, this is an interesting combination of sounds. What does my being want to do with this? Play with the sounds and let them vibrate. Let them vibrate in your throat. Feel them in your throat and in your heart chakra a bit. Even if you have to drag them out a little bit, like feel the vibration to it. You may get different tones. See, I just got a different lilt on it. The more I hear it, the more it's picking up a characteristic, and I know that if I go play with it, I'll find a way that's the way I need to sing it. You can find that too. If you play with it a while, you may get 6 different melodies. That's almost it. It doesn't quite sound, no, it wants to do this. There will be a point if you play with them where, your body says, that's it, that's the vibration, that's how to hold it in this body. That's the one that'll work with your tribal shield. Okay? There's variations in the frequencies. If we sing it high or sing it low, you have to let it come from you. Because if I give you if I give you the sounds of this and say, here, sing it this way, that might activate my tribal shield, but it might not activate yours. You need to find your relationship to those sound combinations, and it's there. If you know it's there, it won't be as hard to find. Okay? It's simply repeating 2 tones. You would use the 12th one, and then you would bring it down to the first one. Now that one, let's see how we can pronounce that. Azutu Ishu-er. There's almost an accent on that one. My lips go into saying it with an accent for some reason. Azutu Ishu-er is what I get out of it. For some reason, it's like saying something, but I don't know what. Azutu Ishu-er. Raise it up? Yeah. I'm not trying to be lazy here, but my ankles are swelling. It happens if I don't sleep, and I'm on my feet a lot. Okay, there we go. Azu tu ishu And there's on the sound, it's almost like the tongue curls. It's not a it's a Yeah, and that does something different with the vibration, and you can feel it. Azu tu ishu Now let's see if we strung them together. So you can remember how to say the first one. Araya zutara izutu isha Oh, I didn't trip over it. Yeah. Now see, it's not as hard as remembering 25 steps to a temporary Maharic seal. However, it has its challenges. But it's a little more fun, all right? Basic sound tones, but they're the right sound tones. That's what's important. These are the sound combinations that go with the 144 fire letters in the tribal shield. Every human being has combinations of those fire letters. So these would work for every human being. If you use this one and this one, you'll get the benefit of the rest. But if you want to, somewhere in there is your specific coding. It may not be Tribe 12 or Tribe 1. They'd still work for you. You'd still activate subharmonics of them. But tomorrow we're going to try to help you find. And you can find it by the fact that every time the races were reseeded or resettled after cataclysms and things, they were always put back in the same place. So if you can have any idea of your genetic origins, of your ancestral origins, where your father's fathers came from, you're basically, well, I'm Irish and German or something like that. That would give you a clue, okay, who are Irish people and German people. Tomorrow we'll get into looking at the maps and keys chart that shows you the regions that go with the stargates. So you would know that, let's say, if, let me see if I can remember one of them, if you were tribe 10, you would probably be from some area of the Middle East. You would be from some place like Iran or Iraq. That would be the ancestral origins. You can get close by tracing what you know about your ancestral origins. Then, using your own intuition to feel it out. Because you'll have combinations. Right now, because everybody's been so mixed up genetically with each other and with other things, that we have pieces of all sorts of things. But there's still going to be a dominant one that was the original one that was yours. That's when you just kind of turn the intuitions on a little and say, okay, it might be tribe 4 and 6, or one of those. Feel out which one feels right. Douse it. Do a pendulum on it. Whatever way you have of communicating with the parts of yourself that you say, okay, higher self, help me to know which one it is. It may just come to you. You're tribe 2. You know what I mean? But when you can find that, that'll be very useful when you get the stuff from tomorrow. Because I'm going to give you a copy of the chart that shows the basic layout of where the 24 key sites are. And that would be the 12 gate sites and the 12 activation sites that go with them. So you'd basically have like tribe 2 would be at gate 2 site, but also at a different location at the Q site or the activation site for gate 2. So this is why tribe 2, tribe 2 wouldn't just be in one location. They're actually distributed around. So with that, you'll have something to work with to like get more specific as far as what your coding goes. But all you need to activate the tribal shield. Now you're not going to see it like what we just did by stumbling through trying to pronounce them for the first couple of times together. That alone, saying them once or twice, is not going to do it. You don't have to drown yourself in it for 6 weeks, but you need to take it into a meditation space and treat it like a mantra for a little bit. Say the sound tones over. Get past the point where there'll be some part of you right about here goes, this is silly, get past that. All right, because some of us will have that reaction where there's just like the 3D mind kind of goes, what's this? It makes no sense to me, therefore it's not valid. You have to get past that little dweller on the threshold and say, yes, well, it makes no sense to you, but somebody out there knows better, so we'll just play with it anyway. If you play with them, and repetition is where it comes from. Each time you say them, particularly when you put them in song, you're building up scalar wave patterns. If you build them up to a critical mass of frequency, that's what's going to activate the tribal shield. Now what they used to do, they had in the Palladori races, had this down to an art. They could activate them immediately just by running through them once. But that's because since the time they were very small children, they were taught to sing the songs of their soul. These were the songs of their soul. And they were taught, they memorized them and they knew them, and they would get subharmonics on them that would come through and all sorts of things. The tribal name was sacred to those races because they knew what it stood for and they knew what it did. So if you work with it for a bit, it'll be a lot easier than some of the other things that take a little bit longer to do activations. It's simply, if you practice it for a while, even if you want to run them down, like it's a little more complicated than do, re, mi, but you can just simply run them down as mantras. Say, 12 to 11 to 10, all the way down to 1. Or if you want to do a short version, go 12 and 1 to get, the 13 combination. You will be able to activate the tribal shield with this. Now, the tribal shield isn't something that activates and then stays on forever. It's like the temporary Maharic seal. Until the full 12-strand DNA template is activated and holding, and that's not going to happen until the planetary grids can hold a race that can do that, it will turn on sometimes and then shut down again. The frequency will come in and then it will become dormant again. It'll be up to you to regulate when you want to bring it in. In the old races, they used to they knew that they didn't need the whole Kundalini frequencies from the primal sound fields running through them on their daily, for daily purposes. Now, if they needed to do some healing on themselves, or if they needed to do some healing for someone else, or for the animal kingdom, or for the planet, then they'd turn it on. They would turn it on by singing a few rounds of their tribal song, of their soul song. They would also, after they used the tribal shield activation songs for a little bit, they would start to get the Maharic songs, which are the ones, if you could look at the tribal shield as a big disc, and then your personal Maharic shield as a smaller disc within that disc, they would activate this one, which is the tribal shield. They'd use the songs for that. And then they would start to get subharmonics of the personal Christos songs that belong to just you. And then they would sing them all together, and they would make rounds of them. And they would progressively build the frequency in their body. They'd bring more and more in. And then they would also combine it with dance. there were certain types of dance, circle dancing, where they would begin to spin the Merkaba fields, and they would get them moving at very specific ratios to each other. And they would use a combination of sound and movement. And then the last would be, they would use very specific symbols. So this is the first part of becoming able to handle grids that way. And there's a part of you that knows how to do this, because there's a part of you, quite a few parts of you, that are back in the other rounds where they know how to do this. So if you realize that, you can simply put the thought out to whoever I am in those time frames, help me here. How does this one sound? Here's the words. What is it supposed to sound like? If you work with this, you'll get the specifics that you need. Now what they're going to do right now, and I could tell, when we went for the break, I started to get really hot on my tailbone, and the whole right side of my head went numb. So that means, okay, incoming frequency, they're up to something. They were going to transmit frequency, just like kind of blanket frequency into the room. You will leave here with the tribal shield activated. It will be up to you to keep it activated. Now it can be activated by transmission of very specific interdimensional frequencies. That's what they're doing right now. And when I say they, I'm referring to the founders. They're the ones that are doing it from density 5. It's like I've allowed them to use my vehicle to ground it and to put it out in the room. If anybody doesn't want that, simply put that intention out, and it will be blocked from entering your field because nobody's going to impose it on you. But there will be, I'm being told here live, that you'll get the transmissions and the shield will activate, the tribal shield will activate. It'll be about a day and a half. By the time you forget that happened, there's going to be something interesting. They won't tell me what. It's not going to be bad, but it's going to be something interesting. And they're baiting us all here. Me too. Because mine's not activated yet either. They didn't activate my tribal shield yet. There's going to be something about a day and a half after this process that's going to be an energy shift of some sort. That if you hear that, you should be able to catch it. But if you look for it, like, okay, what is it? Is it here yet? Is it here yet? You'll miss it. So it's like, just ignore it, and then something will catch it. Oh, that might have been it. It's something, and they're not telling me, but sometimes they're like, this is their way of being playful. Yeah, make you wonder until you figure it out. But anyway, this, you will have the copies of these, whether or not you buy the chart pack. We'll have them for you for tomorrow. So anybody that's not coming tomorrow, okay, you're not going to be here tomorrow? Is there, okay, and you're not, do you want to leave an address so we'll send them to you? Because I want to make sure you get them. Okay? Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, no problem. Okay? Because this is the key. The chart packs are very useful if you want to say, what was all that? Because there's a lot of detail. And the things that I showed you up here, they're only the big set pages. There's a bunch of, I think there's about 20 pages worth of excerpts from the new book that's not out yet. It's going to be probably at least a month before it's on the shelves. I've pulled excerpts out of that, but they pertain to some of this stuff that we're talking about, so they're going to be in it too. So it'll be the first, like the first, at least you have it, it's something new. So, but you don't have to, I'm not going to say you have to buy the chart pack to get this. I'm not like that. This is something that you can play with it, you can use it, and you can begin to, once that tribal shield is triggered, with the frequencies that are going to be running through here tonight, it'll be a lot easier for the sound tones to take, even if you're, kind of fudging and tripping over it for a while, as we all will do. They know I'm going to too, because I have to fight with these things. It took me a while to get the Uriya Kumnare when we were doing that. So I don't know if everybody's heard that, but the Omeda song, that was real fun trying to get that down with the right rhythms and the right everything. So I know that it's going to take you a little while to get comfortable with these. But there'll come a time when you'll even start to feel comfortable enough to play with frequency combining. You'll get an urge, okay, I'm on 1. Ooh, I want to do 5. Follow that, okay? That's saying for that particular time, these are the frequencies you need right now, all right? All of the ones, if you use them, if you use 1 and 12, you will activate the shield. But if you get the urge to start combining them and moving them around and making your own personal mantra out of them, as long as you keep them whole, like you can take this one and put it next to this one, but don't take this half of this one and put it, half of that one. Don't break them down because they're a frequency pattern as it is. Grow with it. We'll be getting more on this. There's going to be symbols that go with these, and there's going to be much more specific stuff, but start here. This is enough to get the tribal shield activated and enough to start playing with it. where you can, start to, I can activate my tribal shield now, which means I can modulate how much of my Antakarana current is going to move through me. Because this is what it gives you the power to do. It's like having a faucet that your hand is on now. Before you're feeling around how do you turn the water on. Now, you know where the faucet is. And it happens to be sound tones. Okay? So you can use this. Yeah. I will. Okay. Let me try the 12th one again. Okay, the 12th one is Araya Zortara. Now, 11. Zephardun Atur Da. Zephardun Atur Da. That's it. Zephardun Atur Da. Zephardun Atur Za. Da. Okay. Zephardun Atur Da. Okay. This one, the 10 is pretty easy. That's Ma'a Huta. Hu. It's a hu sound. Kind of like, it's almost a hu sound, but it has a hu on it. That's almost like a q sound, but not quite. So it's a Ma'a Huta Hu. Ma'a Huta Hu. And number 9. I'm glad they gave me the phonetics on that, because I never would have got the X. You see the spelling compared to the phonetics on it. It's actually Yu'un Zuzen Hi. Yu'un Zuzen Hi. Yu'un Zuzen Hi. And I know these two have to do with the Oriental races. I know that they're, like, Tibetan is in there someplace. I could feel it in the vibe. And they go back to the Yu races, the Yu Empire races of the Palladorius. Okay, this is a fun one. Chi, Azun, Yan, Leyu. Oh boy. Okay, we have Chi, Azun, Yan, Leyong, Om. Wow. I'm going to say that fast, okay? It's like Peter Piper. Say it fast and you have no idea what you just said. Chi, Azun, Yan Le Yong Chi Azun Yan Le Yeah, it has a do 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 do. It's kind of like a pattern like that to it. Chi Azun Yan Le Yong Chi Azun Yan Le Yong Oh boy. You know what might be a good idea? Play with them for a while. When you think you got one right, tape it. Right? So you remember when you knew it was right, because then, 6 weeks later you go back to, what was that? I have that. So I just a suggestion. Yes? Some of them change. If you'll notice up here, it's going into the X, but it's a Z sound. Down here, these are the phonetics that go with them. Sometimes the spellings, which are actually the visual symbol translations of them, are a little bit different than what we would pronounce the phonetics. That's why they gave me the phonetics. They said, they each little piece, they'd do it out, but then they'd say it fast, and I kind of go, what? But they said that they are correct. The phonetics are correct on them the way they are. Okay, we can do that one more time. Chi, Azun, Yan, Le, Yong, Okay. And this one is Mi. Mihata Agra Oi. That's actually Oi. It's like it looks. Oi. Oi. Like that. Oi. That's Mihata Agra. I like that word. That is an agra. There's a to it. Like a little purr in between the A and the G. Mihata Agra Oi. It's probably not said quite like that. It's probably oi, 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 rather than oi. That would be O-U-I, I think. Okay, this isn't too bad. This is Ramayana Shridvida. Ramayana Shridvida. Ramayana Sridvida. That's pretty easy. That's close. Like, it's not too bad if you take it slow. And then on the end, yes. Ramayana Sridvida Actually, wait a minute. They're saying, say that one, yum. Yeah, as if you had the U, the yum. Okay. Okay. This one, 5, is Iona tu et illa. Et illa. Ew. It's like, ew, you know? Iona tu et illa. Ew. And the more you say them, you'll find the balance. As far as, you know how you kind of struggle with it, you know that it must sound, it's a little different. But that's not too bad. Iona tu Attila you. This one's easy. Nuwagu hali ka. Nuwagu hali ka. This one, I know there's some secrets about. Because some of the stuff that we're going to talk about tomorrow is the beginning of unraveling something called the Atlantian conspiracy that had to do with a quest for the North Country, because it was known back then. This has something to do with certain, I'm not going to name names of contemporary occult sciences that follow certain doctrines, but the Amika-san Itur. This has to do with the quest for America. Amika, this is where America came from. It was from the Atlantean period. Yeah. And when they gave that to me, I said, ooh. So it wasn't Vespucci or whoever it was that they named America after. America's Vespucci, I don't think so. You know. But anyway, this one is Amika-san Itur do. Amika-san Itur do. Amika-san Itur do. Ma'ahali Brua. Okay. Ma'ahali Brua. Now, interesting, with this, spelled different, but the Brua is also the name of what was southwestern Atlantis. Brua is what it was called, but it was spelled different. So I have a feeling these guys have to do with the tribes that had you know, like we're getting progressively more on that. But I'm looking at these and I'm thinking, I have an idea of where these fit, you know, with the people. We will have that probably by the time the book is out, those correlations. Okay, so that's Ma'ahali Brua. E-L. Actually, it's E-L. E-L. Yeah. Yeah, when I show them big, it's that I have to remind myself that it's supposed to be like the E sound, like the E-L. If it was L, it'd be a little E. You know, so that's how we kind of use the spellings. And then this one again, let's see if we remember that one. Isutu Ishu Ur. Isutu Ishu Ur. It might be interesting to have a dialogue with yourself. Pretend you're talking to yourself and just run through them and sound convincing, you know, like you're saying something. Sometimes you get into a natural language pattern that way, where you'll just pick up like a natural rhythm for yourself. I get a feeling that could work. Just have some fun talking to the mirror and you know, and you'll start to get your natural intonations on the sounds, just as if you were carrying on a conversation in your own language. That might help it, you know, move a little better for you. Okay. Now, all right. Is everybody here interested in the Emerald Awakening? Okay. Okay. Now, if anybody here has had it, it doesn't hurt to have it twice. Okay. Now, this is something that we're not going to go and zap you. We're holding a frequency field in the room that allows the things like your own Maharic seal, for instance. You don't normally, before we do an activation, we'd run you through the Maharic seal again, but you're already taken through that, I was told this morning. That's right. You did the Maharic seal this morning, right, with Marianne? Okay. So that means you had it in your fields. They're pumping right now frequency through. I can feel it coming through beneath my feet, just enough to sustain yours. So your Maharic seals are up, so you're okay. So you don't have to worry about going through all those steps again to get there. Now, with the Emerald Awakening, Michael is going to read this for us. If I can find it. Where did he go? He went that way. Wonderful. Because he helps me out too, because it helps my voice to last a little bit longer. I almost was wondering if I was going to talk to you at all today or use sign language, because about by 4 o'clock in the morning my voice was shot. But all right, this is something that we do have in writing, and whenever I have stuff in writing, I let other people help, because it's supposed to be a community effort and a joint effort. I'm not the guru here, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be that way. Now, what's going to happen with the Emerald Awakening is you're going to be guided to move certain things, to move certain energy in certain ways through your body. Okay, is it better if they stand for that? We had them on the beach standing, Michael. Yeah, I think so too. So we'd ask you to stand for this one, because you need really the main vertical current running pretty straight, like right down through the feet and up through the head. Okay, Michael will take you through the steps of this, but you'll run them. Meanwhile, we'll hold frequency. I'm also being asked here to just put this out. If anybody feels that they need a little bit of help with the frequency or anything like that, just a little bit of guidance with it, that they'll not with me, but they'll tune in and help you out. And you might even be able to feel them, they said. So, and the them I'm talking about are the Brenau on Density 5. They're the ones that are running the show at this point, the founders. Okay? Okay, so I'm going to hand the microphone over to you, my beloved. Thank you. How are you? We didn't have...
Right, we're starting shield up, right?
Shields up. They're all right.
Okay, just begin by breathing slowly. And I want you to become conscious of allowing your breathing rate to slow. Just take your time. Begin visualizing, or if you can't visualize, just imagine a 4-inch round violet dot at the center of your forehead, or you call the place of your third eye. Make the color of the image as strong as you're able to. If you can't see the color, just intend, just imagine that it's there, and intend that it be a strong presence of violet. Now move this violet dot to the center of your brain, the very center part of your skull, which is where you keep your pineal gland. And then move it immediately upwards from that central position into your crown chakra. Keep moving the violet dot until you sense or feel it sitting, resting on the top of your head. Now call to mind the Hierophant symbol. That's the pale silver Merkaba star, rather like the Star of David. Visualize the Hierophant spinning 12 inches below your feet, within your Maharic shield. And as you do this, slowly inhale, drawing the Hierophant up through the central vertical current, all the way up to meet the violet dot on the surface of your skull in the position of the crown chakra. When the Hierophant connects with the violet dot, visualize the violet dot bursting into a 4-inch round vertical pillar of violet silver light. And imagine the violet silver pillar running down through the body all the way into the earth's core, as well as upward to the 14th chakra, 36 inches above your head. You have now activated the violet ray of transmutation. Now move your attention to your heart chakra, and there imagine a small green spherical crystal, the green star, stationed at the core of your heart chakra. This is the green star crystal seal that controls the release of fourth dimensional frequency, phase 1 doradic current, into your body. Now with your attention on the green crystal, inhale, drawing violet silver energy from the violet silver pillar into the green star at your heart center. Exhale, expanding the violet silver energy into the green star sphere. And repeat this twice more. Inhale, drawing violet silver energy from the violet silver pillar into the green star at the heart center. And exhale, expanding the violet silver energy into the green star sphere at the heart center. Now at the end of the last exhale, imagine the green star popping, turning into a spinning green and violet starburst of light as the violet silver pillar disappears. Spin the green violet starburst faster and faster until it becomes a ball of green violet light about the size of a grapefruit, spinning in the center of your heart center. This green violet ball is your storehouse of phase 1 doradic current, and this is referred to as the doradic sphere. Now on the next inhale, draw pale silver energy from your Maharic shield up through the central vertical current and into the center of the doradic sphere at your heart chakra, encasing the sphere in translucent pale silver light. Keep your attention on the doradic sphere at the heart center as we move now into awakening the car. Inhale pale silver energy up from the earth core to fill and expand the doradic sphere. Breathe slowly and deeply 2 to 3 times whilst you do this. Slowly and gently, lift your hands in front of you, bringing your fingertips together. And without exactly touching, just feel the fuzziness of the energy flow. Just move them to any position in which you can feel the fuzziness. It doesn't matter whether it's a half an inch or an inch. Now slowly and gracefully, move your fingertips to the tailbone. Just touch your tailbone very gently. Just bring your arms around. And once you've made contact, inhale energy from the Maharic shield up into the doradic sphere. Draw deeply up. And exhale deeply, pushing pale silver energy down to your fingertips and into the tailbone. Inhale Maharic energy from the Maharic shield once more. Bring it up into the doradic sphere. And exhale, pushing pale silver energy down to the fingertips and into the tailbone. Just repeat this one more time. Now move your attention to the second chakra, the sacral. feel or visualize or just know that there is a double terminated quartz crystal, a crystal with a point at both ends. And this crystal is beginning to push out of your sacral chakra. Focus your attention on it for a moment and try to feel the crystal pushing out of this chakra center. If you feel comfortable, bring your hands into the area and use your hands to help ease the crystal forward and out. Now there is a smaller double terminated crystal in the solar plexus chakra. This will release on its own now because the currents have been activated to do this. But if you feel like it, help it out with your fingers. Just imagine drawing this double pointed quartz crystal from your solar plexus area. Just gently and reverently. Now bring your attention to your heart chakra. Imagine a little sphere of energy there, colored green. Bring this little green sphere more fully into focus. Look at it intently and carefully. And as you do, you will notice a little black cube of energy just inside it. Continue to increase your focus. And as your focus or your intention to see develops, you will notice inside of the black cube a little white cube. Continue to watch the cubes. And as you do, you will notice or feel that they're merging. And as they do this, you may feel a ripple of vibration. And notice, if you can, a little puff of smoke as they both suddenly disappear. And at this point, your body has been activated to open the fourth and first crystal seals, and you are ready for the Emerald Awakening proper. When we work with this together, we open the green star crystal seal. So keeping your awareness on the doradic sphere, the green, violet, silver ball at the heart center, breathe in deeply. And as you exhale, visualize or imagine pushing a cord of green, violet, silver, doradic current down into the tailbone, down into the first cell, all the way down to the very tip of your tailbone. And just for a moment or two, relax. You're going to breathe easy for a little while. And I want you to take your focus down to the first cell at the tip of your tailbone. I want you to find there, or imagine with strong intention, that there is a white silver sphere at the very tip of your tailbone. Now within the white silver sphere, visualize a green sphere.